All right, good morning, everybody. This is Lauren Reeves here at the National Weather Service in Peachtree City, Georgia. We just wanted to bring you a quick video update here for our severe weather potential this afternoon. It's around 11:40 a.m. on Sunday, April 12th, 2020. All right, so our big story today, what we've been talking about all week, is generally the severe weather outbreak that's likely to occur this afternoon into this evening and into the overnight hours into early Monday. As you can see here, here's our Storm Prediction Center outlook for today. So this red area here is looking at a moderate risk, and then the orange area here is our enhanced risk, generally an enhanced risk across the rest of the area, but on their western counties, we're looking at that moderate risk. To kind of put it into perspective a little bit, we haven't had a moderate risk across our area since about March 2018 with another system that came through producing widespread damaging winds as well as tornadoes. So we'll take a little bit deeper look into Georgia here. So here's one of the graphics that we have on our social media accounts as well as our front page, just taking a look at our threats for Georgia. So overall, like we've been talking about, severe weather expected this afternoon and into the evening, then into the overnight hours into early Monday. Our main threats with this will be damaging wind and tornadoes. And so what we're looking at, this confidence scale down here on the right-hand side, for damaging winds and tornadoes, we're looking at fairly high threats here, moderate and between moderate and high for both of those. Then if we take a look down at hail, we do have a threat for hail. We're not as concerned for the hail, but we'll be taking a better look at that shortly. Then flooding, we do have a risk for flooding as we're expecting some heavy rainfall as well as a couple rounds of rain moving through. So flipping into our confidence, just kind of to follow up from what we've been posting in our previous briefings, our forecast confidence has increased slightly. Looking here between 4 and 5, we are confident that we'll be seeing severe weather this afternoon, evening, generally in the overnight hours as well, with the main threats being all hazards, damaging winds, tornadoes, flooding, and hail. And not much has changed as far as the threat levels from yesterday's briefing, with our highest threats continuing to be winds and tornadoes. So we'll take a better look at that here. Here we're looking at our tornado risk across the area. The yellow area has a slightly lower tornado risk, but as we get into the yellow, which is elevated, and the red, high risk, these are the areas in the yellow and the red that we'll be continuing to monitor. These areas definitely have the potential for some of those stronger tornadoes or longer track tornadoes in these areas. Not to say that the other areas shouldn't still be aware, definitely still have the chance for tornadoes, but the highest threats for those stronger tornadoes will be in the yellow and red. If we flip over to damaging winds, as you can see, generally the entire area has a high risk of damaging winds. So across our entire area, widespread, we do have those threats for damaging winds. And in some localized areas, we could even get winds higher than 70 miles per hour, which definitely will bring down trees and power lines. And just real quickly, wanted to talk about hail. Our entire area has an elevated risk for hail. We're not as concerned for hail. We'll definitely likely see some hail in some of our stronger storms, especially with any supercells that could form. We could also then see some larger hail, greater than an inch. So I just wanted to take a quick look a little bit deeper at what our potential is for these severe storms. We know that we're expecting to have these storms. So this graphic here is showing pretty much our chances for severe weather. So this kind of combines our instability and our shear, not to get too deep into it, but as I page forward as through the afternoon and into the early evening hours here, you should be paying attention to anywhere in that green and yellow, but especially the yellow and red areas. So that's where our higher threats will be. So here we're looking at the early afternoon, around 4 p.m. or so. And as you can see across some portions of Metro Atlanta, generally around I-20, a little south of I-20 or so, you can see these higher values. So that's pretty much to say that we could see severe storms in those areas. We'll have the chances for tornadoes as well. And this is looking at this afternoon and into the evening. If I move forward a little bit more, we're pretty much at about 8 p.m. now. As that warm front lifts north, as you can see, that area lifts north as well, where we could still see some of those stronger storms. And then as expected with the overnight line of storms coming through, as you can see, the values are really starting to pick up here very, very high as that front starts to come through and the line of storms ahead of that comes through as well. So now I'm looking at about some of the early morning hours as that system continues to move through. As you can see, we still have that threat there. So generally from this afternoon into the evening, into the overnight, into early Monday, we'll still have those threats. If I push through a little bit further, you can see here the values start to die down a bit, and so this will signify the clearing out of the storms. So So I know everyone's really interested in timing here, so I pulled up one of the models that we're looking at. Please keep in mind this is just one model and the timing could shift an hour back or two or forward an hour or two, but that's something we'll definitely continue to watch through the rest of this afternoon. So I've started here generally at noon or so. Here's the forecast model reflectivity that we have here. As you can see, generally just some showers across our area with some of the stronger storms further to our west. We'll take a look at the current radar now and see where they are now. But as I step through, getting to around 2 p.m. in the afternoon, as you can see, we have a tiny bit of clearing in our area, so we'll be able to keep an eye on that. But otherwise, there's definitely plenty of scattered showers, and these could be thunderstorms as well as potentially strong to severe thunderstorms. So as I move a little bit forward in time, we're looking at about 4 p.m. now. As you can see, there are some more the higher coverage across our area as we get into the early afternoon, as we get into the evening as well. Continuing to step forward, you can see here pretty good coverage across a good portion of the northern portions of the area. And as I continue to step forward, we can start to see that line of storms starting to form back in Alabama and across northwestern Georgia. So right now I'm looking at about 8 p.m. this evening and some of those storms starting to move into the area. As I go forward just a couple hours, we can see the line really starting to come together and pushing across our area, getting into the early morning hours. This is about midnight. The line still across portions of northwestern Georgia and southern Alabama or so, and then continuing to push east. And as you can see, the line still definitely has its strength, so this will be continuing to monitor the overnight hours for this storm continuing to move through. Now, if I push forward a little bit more, right now we're looking at about 6 a.m. in the morning, and it's looking like the line of storms could be through the metro, pushing into southeastern Georgia. And then this is looking at about 8 a.m. Generally clear across much of the area. So if I keep going forward, we're expecting overall things should be clear by late morning into the early afternoon tomorrow. Okay, just a little bit deeper dive into the timing. We worked on this graphic, generally showing the expecting timing of the main storm activity and more widespread severe weather threat. So not to say that you won't see anything before this or any severe storms like that, but generally when we expect the worst of the weather. So taking a look at northwestern Georgia, anywhere from 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. across the metro and the wide chunk of our area, midnight to 6 a.m. and then further southeast as the line continues to push through the area from 6 a.m. to about 11 a.m. or so. Now, this is just the threat for the strongest, the more widespread severe threat. We still are anticipating strong to severe storms this afternoon and getting into this evening ahead of that line. And that could be especially true for any of those areas along north and west of I-85 and I-20 or so, especially as that warm front lifts north. And we'll take a quick look at that as well. But first, we'll talk about rainfall. Here's our graphic for rainfall through 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Generally across much of the area, about 1 inch to 3 inches or so. But across far northern Georgia, we've got some areas getting into the 3 to 4 inch range, potentially even higher, especially if storms continue to move over the same area or in any stronger storms that could occur. In addition, we do have a moderate risk across far north Georgia for excessive rainfall. So this is saying that heavy rainfall could lead to flash flooding issues. And so we've issued a flash flood watch across these northern counties as well. And you can see that here. So our flash flood watch across the northern counties goes through about 8 a.m. And just as a side note, we do have a wind advisory across the entire area, and that'll go through 6 a.m. tomorrow. So just real quick, let's take a look at the current conditions across the area. So this is looking at a current radar loop. Overall, we've got some showers across the area. A couple thunderstorms have popped up, and we're keeping an eye on those as they move through the area. But otherwise, if you look further to our west, you can see the large area of storms starting to form back to our west. They're already issuing tornado warnings and severe thunderstorms warnings out in that area. And this is all continuing to push to the east towards our area. Now this area down here where these storms are starting to pop up, we'll see those start to lift north and move through the area, and this is what we'll be keeping an eye on as this warm front here where my mouse is moving starts to lift north across our area. If I flip over real quick, this is just taking a look at some of our dew points. As you can see here, these areas in light blue and the really, really light green are some of the cooler air that we have in the area. If you look back to the west, these greens and yellows are the warmer, moist air that's going to supply us the energy for these severe storms. As we get through the rest of the afternoon and evening, that warm front, which is generally in this area here, should continue to lift north and bring that warm, moist air across our area, as well as from the west. So by the time we get into the afternoon and into the evening and overnight hours, our area should be covered in those warm, moist air that will be able to help sustain those thunderstorms. Just wanted to take a quick look at that real quick. Otherwise, that's all we have for this morning's update. If anything changes significantly, we can try to do another one of these updates and get that out on YouTube and sent out to everyone. Otherwise, stay safe, and if you need anything from us, we'll be in our chat, or you can pick up the phone and give us a call. Alrighty, thanks y'all.